Hello everyone, my name's Duncan White. I'm the managing editor of the International Fire and Safety Journal, and I'm delighted you've joined me on another podcast in association with leaders in fire and safety. And I'm delighted to be talking with Stephen and Denley from Cygnus Systems. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon. Nice to be here, Duncan.
Afternoon, Duncan.
Yeah, it's really great to be sitting down and chatting, and the work you guys are doing in relation to fire and life safety is a credit to you all. And on this podcast, we're going to look at the innovation that you keep coming up with, the way that you're pushing technology forward. So, just to kick off, Stephen, I'm going to come to you. Just explain to me the key benefits of wireless technology and how that links in the context of fire detection and alarm systems.
Absolutely. So we've got a whole world that is going wireless. So it's been going that way for a number of years. Mobile phones, wireless, Wi-Fi, internet systems. The security world has gone more and more wireless in recent years as well. Whilst there's been fire solutions out there, there hasn't been anything that's really captured the hearts and minds of people. And what we've got is a solution here that's 100% wireless. So it's the world's first EN54 100% wireless system. The advantages of wireless in the fire industry is that we can quickly deploy it, so we have really rapid install times. Also, whilst we have the rapid install time, there's minimal disruption to both the fabric and occupants of buildings. So the damage to the building, and I say damage, in terms of the installation and impact to the building during that installation is mitigated with our system because there isn't any wiring requirement. So they're the main key advantages, is just that speed of install and the advantages that brings in terms of how it benefits the end user.
Very much. I smiled, and you saw me smiling when you said about damage to buildings. I've been in scenarios where I've seen engineers installing wired systems, and they've got their 18-inch long drill bit out, and they're drilling through the wall of somebody's very prestigious hotel, and you can see the head of housekeeping and the various front of house people just rubbing their heads when you see dust going everywhere. That yes, it's the way it was, and we're now very fortunate to have systems like you've discussed, and I'm not going to let it go by without complimenting the fact that the world's first EN54 certified fire and alarm system. That is something to be justifiably proud of, and Denley, that must make life somewhat easy for you when you're going out talking to people and being able to give such great stats as Stephen touched on there.
Yeah, absolutely. Allows installers to be a lot more flexible on their projects, on their install. So they because the fact that you can install projects a lot faster than any other sort of wired system out there. The fact it is all up to 20 times faster than any other system out there. It allows installers to be more flexible with their time, with their engineering force, and be more clever about the projects that they can actually take on, perhaps jobs that they've turned away in the past because they can't actually physically possibly get them complete within the time frame they've been asked to complete them.
Yeah, and everybody in this modern world wants things quicker, faster, and cheaper, and
absolutely.
And with figures like up to 20% quicker, then that's got to be worth looking at, and without the damage, or even though we're not allowed to say damage and mess, but what we used to see in the old system. So, Denley, while I'm still with you, I know that the configuration tool is also being greeted with open arms in relation to the installation and maintenance process. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the Cygnus configuration tool is a cloud-based solution. So what that allows is that any users on the config tool, so say an installer has a a number of engineers trained, Cygnus trained, have come in for training. They get access to the configuration tool, and they get assigned an organisation, which will be their company, their installer company, and they will be able to access all the sites that they've got our systems installed in. So from an installation point of view, you might have somebody in the office programming up the system, and then they send a kit to site, and might be different engineers that are actually installing the system and commissioning. But in terms of the config tool, to be able to commission, download the logs, etc., you can any engineer can sort of log on to the configuration tool and have access to the same site file that the original, the first programming was completed against. So it allows them to be very efficient throughout the whole process of the installation. And on the back of that, from a maintenance point of view, going forwards, all engineers will be able to see each other's site files, as I say. And so you're not limited to certain engineers that have to go to site and complete those maintenance visits.
So, and something that's easy to access, easy to use, and provides the ability, rather than one person having to deal with one site, they can fill back with whoever's available at the time. So, again, another fantastic step in the right direction. It leads really nicely into the use of the cloud, and we're now seeing everything being uploaded to the cloud and making maximum use of what we look in the air to be that unlimited storage site. But you touched on site file logs there, Denley, and when you add in engineer deployment and software updates, Stephen, that must also make things so much easier, not only for you guys, but also the people you support at the end that are doing the installations.
Absolutely. The decision to go and use cloud-based software, it allows the flexibility of our installers not to rely on a USB stick or a site file being saved on a laptop that then goes missing or is corrupted somewhere else. Everyone can access that. So you can access it from the office. You can program an additional device and send it to site pre-programmed, either to be an additional device within the network or to be a replacement device. And then that allows you to then be flexible with which engineer you send, what information they have, what training they have. And also then from the software update side, to have all that, it allows us to push updates through to customers very, very quickly and say, look, here's an update on the configuration tool. We're in control of that being pushed out. We can send proactive messages through that configuration tool as well. So it's a really powerful piece of software that we're only going to develop more and more, because it's not just about that initial install. These are life safety systems that have to be maintained and supported going forward. And the more support we can give our installer base to assist with the compliance of that to the end user, then the better it is for us and for them and the end user. It's a holistic approach that we're looking to develop as we go forward.
Yeah, exactly. And Denley touched on the fact that you train the end users in your system how to maximize the benefits of them, but also how to install them correctly. And when putting myself in the shoes of a client, knowing that I've got an engineer coming in that not only knows what they're doing in terms of competence, but also knowing that they have been through extensive training from Cygnus is a huge I say comfort blanket, but a huge relief knowing that you've got professionals not just in the field of installation, but also that have been trained on the product, and that certainly holds both parties in really good stead. The functionalities of these systems is incredible, and when I was reading about ALERT and also the Mesh Analysers, just give me and the listener an update on both the value to the installer and the end user of both those products? I'll come to you first, Stephen, and then I'm sure, Denley, you'll add something in at the end.
Yeah, the Mesh Analyzer itself is a really powerful tool for not only the commissioning side, but also maintenance. It allows the guesswork to be taken away from what is a wireless network. The USP is the fact that we haven't got any wires. What Mesh Analyzer does is virtually put those wires back in. So you can display graphically on your laptop from a mesh log and say, that device is talking to that device. The mesh itself self-forms and self-heals. So there's nothing that you need to do from an installation side, but it can give you a really good insight as to, well, what is happening in that area. So when you combine the site knowledge that you have with the graphical display, it gives a really good oversight as to changes that you might need to make to support an even stronger mesh going forward. So that's a really powerful tool from the maintenance side. It's coupled with Cygnus ALERT, which is another cloud-based system. That gives all monitoring and notification real time through 2G, 2G networks, through to either mobile phone push notifications on an app for an Android app there, or to email. So that can be controlled from the installer to give Office that level of information, or they can also give site managers or end users access to that. So everyone can have real-time information on what is happening on that site. And then we can proactively have engineers attend the site knowing what the situation is and offer that first-time fix. And not only a first-time fix, but a quicker resolution, because we're not duplicating time on site and taking the guesswork out of it.
And Denley, from your side, you must get great feedback on both of those applications from the end user.
Yeah, I mean, one thing about the alert, which is really powerful, is, as Steve said, that you can dial in and see exactly what's happening on the system. So you can dial in and see the mesh network. You can see the battery voltages. You can see the signal strengths. So again, you can paint a very quick picture as to the health of the system, which ultimately can be done from the panel as well. But from the likes of the Cygnus ALERT and even the Mesh Analyzer tool, it gives you a very good picture of the health of the system, and then will give you those quick. It will stand out to you what is required to improve the network if it's required, and those actions that come out, the report that comes out of that is really helpful on the Mesh Analyzer tool for the engineers that are on site at that time.
From an end user, i.e. the system owner, having things that are so easy to access and see through tablets and on your mobile phone, gone are the days when the box on the wall is something that only the engineer touches, or you put in the silent mode after the fire officer tells you to when they go and look at what caused the nuisance alarm. But by having this information available, gives the end user so much more confidence and faith that they know what they're investing in. They know the level that companies like Cygnus have gone to produce a product that gives that reassuring comfort blanket that it's sat there, and ideally you'll never hear it, and you'll never have any problems with it. But it's that insurance policy that's there for life safety when things do go wrong. But yeah, really interesting. It would be remiss of me, especially having grown up with the thick red wires going all around buildings, not to look now back at SmartNet and the 54 system and just compare the big differences between the old systems and the new systems, and I'll kick us off. There's no wires in the new system, so over to you two for a little bit more of the technical bits.
Well, you picked out the big one there, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, look, there's other solutions that are hybrid, partly wired, The power of ours is, look, no wires, but I think it's the scale that we can get to as well. So the SmartNet Pro goes all the way up to 511 devices per panel, all without any wires. That includes a full portfolio of your detection, VADs, and also I/O units. The other side of that is you can then network up to 5 of those to get a network of up to 2,500 devices. So we can start getting to some reasonable sized systems out there without still having to cable anything other than the networking between the panels. And of course, power. I think other than that, the bigger benefits are the ones that we've touched on, is the speed of that install and the flexibility it gives people on that labour element. It's always a pain point, isn't it? Is engineer availability at the moment. It's there's a clear shortage in the industry, and actually our solution helps address that somewhat by not having to use up that key resource of installers to the same extent that a wired installation would. The impact on the building, we touched on earlier. We talked about damage and sort of, we smiled about it, but you get the example of the hotel lobby. And look, I dare say there might well be fire stopping within there as well. So that impact not only has the damage to the building, but it also ensures that your fire strategy, your overall fire strategy, is still intact.
It's the self-forming and self-healing part of the system is a really important part to really look at, because in one sense that you're not having to learn a device. You're not having to tell a device which device to talk through it. So detection, you're not having to force it to talk through each other. The good thing about the SmartNet system in its mesh is that every device can find the best path back to the panel, and regardless of the size, so it can be up to 511 device system. As Steve said, each device will find the best path back to the panel using that self-forming. And then the self-healing part of it is in ensuring that the environment around it, it's adapting to the environment, so that it has got the strongest paths back to the panel that it can actually have.
Yeah, and you touched on a bit there, Steve, in relation to the fire stopping. A lot of people will know that I don't take kindly to cowboys out there that are making a lot of money out of so-called fire stopping, and in effect they're doing no good whatsoever. But unfortunately, it's also about the education to the construction industry in terms of what's right and what's not right. There are a lot of fantastic fire stopping companies out there that are being plagued by the cowboys, and wireless technology is certainly not going to require a great deal of passive fire protection through fire stopping, which in one respect is brilliant, but we'll leave the debate on that between wireless and passive fire engineering to another day. But it cuts out one of the risks. So let's look back on the last couple of years and look at the most significant progress and breakthroughs that you've seen with wireless fire detection and alarm technology. Just give us a quick run through of where we've come in that last 24-month period.
Well, it's been an action-packed 2 years, I must say. There's been the developments in terms of what's come out since sort of the launch. It hasn't stopped. There's been lots of products, new features, and new ways of being able to support installers out there to ensure that they get the user-friendly experience. For me, one of them is the launch of the Cygnus Academy, the ability to bring engineers in and give them the required training to be able to ensure that they have got the full knowledge to install our systems. So we've got the 2 training courses. We've got the fundamentals and then the advanced. Fundamentals is a mandatory course which goes through the essentials of how to install the systems, and then advanced just goes into a bit more detail around some of the technical sides of the system. So it gives the engineers that how to. They know when they go to site, they are confident, and they show that confidence to the end users. You said earlier, the fact that if end users can see the confidence in engineers, that they know how to install these new systems, which is a new way of doing things, new technology, that's what they want to see. And then on the back of that, you've got the we also launched the PPU, which is the portable programming unit, which is a tool that can be used at post install should you require to make any changes to any devices that are in areas of difficult access. You can use a PPU device to plug into your laptop. It connects to your configuration tool, and you can connect to the devices wirelessly, so that you can make any changes to the settings, add in cause and effects, or even update the firmware. So say you're in a block of flats where you can't get access into the flats, you can stand out in the communal areas and update the firmware to those devices wirelessly, so you're not hindered by access problems.
Yeah, I think in the last 2 years, what we've really done is, I'd say probably the solution we brought to the market is the most significant breakthrough. And that started with SmartNet Pro, which we touched on earlier. We added in SmartNet 100, sort of 6 months after launch, which is a smaller brother or sister of the Pro, going up to 100 devices per panel. And then as Denley touched on, the Cygnus accessories, all the support tools that we're continue to develop and create, whether it be Mesh Analyser, the portable programming unit, a revised survey kit, everything that we brought to the market to really just enhance the experience, the use, and the capabilities of the system that we brought out 2 years ago.
There's certainly no lack of effort and continued moving forward from Cygnus, that's for sure. And let's not forget, and Denley, you talked about the academy there and the teaching of the installers. You put your name to the system, and it's your name that the people see day in, day out when they're walking through the building. They'll forget that it was a third party installer. All they'll see is Cygnus. But my wife Joanne tells a story about where we had our boiler serviced, or a guy came and attempted to service our boiler, but at the point that he was unable to take the front cover off of it, he stayed in my kitchen no longer and was escorted out of the house, and that did his company no good whatsoever, because they'd not taken the time to train him. So from an end user perspective, putting that effort into training your representatives, if you like, that are going into the end user's building is certainly worth its weight in gold. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. There's one last thing that I always ask on these interviews, and a lot of the time people say we can't tell you anything, it's too secret. But I'm gonna ask you the question anyway. For those people that are wondering, what can we expect to see from Cygnus in the next 6 to 12 months? Is there anything that is currently under wraps that you're working on?
Lots, but as you say, under wraps. I think what you can see is us pushing the message even more and celebrating the 2 years that we've had since launch. The leaps and bounds that we've taken the market forward is in our opinion, in terms of the solution. I think we want to get out there and have deeper partnerships with our current base, and expose the solution that should really be prevalent in a wider part of the market, and support people that want to engage and move the fire industry forward. I think that's what the product does. I think that's what the solution does. And I think we're trying to do that in the right way with the Cygnus Academy, and doing it not just through shipping units, but by improving knowledge and providing a solution that is then backed up by that knowledge as well.
Very much so. The education and communication. If we remember those two things in all that we do, we're not going to go too far wrong. Gentlemen, it's been an absolute pleasure. I'm sure that somewhere down the line we will continue this conversation, maybe on a different topic. Who knows? we may well bring in some of our friends from the passive side and have a debate over for wireless versus wired system. But no, joking apart, it's been a pleasure. My name's Duncan White. I'm the managing editor of the International Fire and Safety Journal. I've had the pleasure this afternoon of speaking to Denley Nunn and Stephen Marsh from Cygnus Systems. For more information, feel free to visit cygnus-systems.com. Thank you very much indeed, gentlemen.
Thanks, Duncan.
Thanks, Duncan.